Welcome to the Path Podcast, where we will travel the lives of some bold women, from dreams to detours to destiny. She did not choose this path chose her. This is the Path Podcast. Welcome back, Path listeners, to another episode of the Path Podcast with your sister, your motivator, your confidence builder, the one who believes that purpose is bigger than obstacles. Path listeners, we are still in the month of January, where a lot of us have made New Year's resolutions. For Arlene, I've decided a long time ago to stop doing that and set goals. But like I read somewhere, we can do that any time of the year, right? So I set goals throughout the year for what I need to work on, what I need to accomplish. And another thing I've heard is when we set New Year's resolutions, we set these big goals that seem arbitrary. And we have no reason behind some of the things that we decide to do. Not that maybe we don't need to work on some of these things or improve when it comes to our health and exercising more or weight management, if that is your resolution. But yeah, we don't have a reason. And anytime we do anything, we have to have a reason and a why. And then, of course, set smaller goals. If it's something that you didn't do last year and you need to do it this year and you want to be successful at it, it's setting that why, setting a goal that is much smaller in the terms of reaching that bigger goal. Because, of course, and remember I said on the last podcast, if you missed it, check it out, that I am trying to go bigger. And I do believe in bigger and not playing small. So you may be asking, why am I telling you to go small goals? Because even to get to that big goal, you have to start small. Because everything starts with step one, step two. Step one and step two are just some of your many accomplishments to get to the major goal. So if my major goal is to lose weight, I have to start with step one. Maybe start eating healthier, finding healthier options, and cutting out one thing out of my diet so I can improve on that, as well as working out, which is something I need to start really doing more of again. Working out 15 minutes so I can start to get to my major goal. But my goal is to work out 30 minutes, maybe a day, or 3 to 4 days a week. And that is the ultimate goal. And if I can accomplish the small things, I'll improve as I get better at working out. That's some of my examples of you playing big still because you got a goal, but you have to start with those small mini steps and have a why to what you're doing. When we don't have a why, that's where I think, tend to walk away from some of our dreams and our hopes and our aspirations in life. This year on the Path Podcast, I said we will be talking to a lot of women in business, which is something I'm excited about, as well as talk to people who can help us with the marketing, learning about the marketing side, learning about the accounting side of in everything, which business, if you start one, how to start it. So we will talk. I'm intentional about talking to a lot of those women, even though a lot of the women I've already had on the Path Podcast started organizations and businesses themselves. It's something that is near and dear to my heart as I try to even work on my own business. And everybody is not wanting to start a business, which is okay. And you shouldn't. You maybe you're that one who should be that supervisor or that manager that you know you're called to be. And if not, and even the ones who are saying, I'm managing my home, those stay-at-home mothers, who is the hardest working woman in the world, let me tell you. So no matter what your goals are, if it's running a business, growing in the company you're in today, running your home, women, we are successful in whatever we put our minds to. There is no stopping us once our minds are made up and we know what we are called to do. I think that's for everyone, to be honest. But women, I think we have a tendency to sit back we play that supportive role, which is not a bad thing if that's what you choose to do. But we also know there's something we're called to. And if we're called to support that other person and their dream, fine. That's still the part that you play in the world, and what you're contributing to the world. In our last episode, we spoke about the 4 questions we need to answer to start operating in our purpose. Now, Path listeners, I hope you did that. And if you did not do that, those are the action steps that we need to start doing. Why didn't you? If it's something that resonates with you, why did you not sit down and at least answer those questions? And yes, I believe in writing it down, or if you're like me, just voice it into your notes. That's a lot of what I do today. But we have to be able to see it. Sometimes we do have to write it down. I have to do that sometimes to make me think about it, see it, and do it. I need to get, to be honest and transparent, a little bit more organized with some of my stuff. I have a lot of information surrounding me, and I need to get my organization in a better state. But I know where everything is. I can tell you that. But I do need to organize. So that's something I need to work on this year. I've started 3 and 4 different notebooks, and that's why I like putting things in my notes or in a file on my laptop, because I can easily go to that. I keep that more organized than having a notebook that sits in front of me. That is very important. And for all my people who love to journal, you are good at this stuff. So what made you not start? What stopped you from writing down and not doing what you know you're called to do, so we can walk into this new version of ourselves, creating the life that we know we're destined to live? We know that there's something in us that's missing. It's like, I know what it feels like when something is saying, Arlene, step out. You need to stop playing small and sitting back. Step out. There's something in you, someone out there that's feeling the same way. So what stopped you? That's another question for you to answer. So whether you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed with no idea where to begin in making things better, or you may know what you want to do, but you need help bringing a specific dream to life, let me help you on this journey. And if I'm not the one who can help you, I do know other people in businesses that have some programs that you can move into and help get you to that next level, or start making those steps, that are very good at what they do. And I would recommend them anytime, because I don't know it all. I like to think I do, but I don't. But the most important thing is freeing you from the paralyzing shackles of doubt, worry, unworthiness, and self-judgment that's holding you back from living a fulfilling life. Path listeners, if you don't know anything about me, I hope you know that I am your hype woman. I told my daughter this the other day and she thought it was corny, but it is something that's so near and dear to my heart. So you're going to hear it a whole lot. I am your hype woman. And you know who is the star? It's you. You are the star. I am a raw person. I love to see people winning. The one thing I love about me, as I brag on Arlene, I've never been that one who was jealous of people, because especially as I got older, I'm not saying I've never had a case where I was jealous of something or something someone had, or envious in some ways. But as I've grown and matured more, I'm thankful that I see it differently even more today. And if I do look at someone and admire what they have, it's because I know they worked for what they have, and my God is not small, so I can have mine too. What's for me is for me, and what's for you is for you. Because for some people, you don't know their story. I always say, you don't know what's going on behind closed doors in someone's home. I don't know what it took for you to get where you are, so I don't care to walk your path, because I have my own. And walking my own path is going to lead me into what is destined for Arlene. And what is destined for Arlene is living a life, and stop waiting for just a weekend and vacations. I want to live a life filled with purpose. I want to feel like when I walk and do my purposeful work every day, that it does, it's like a vacation for me, because I enjoy doing this part. Even I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy seeing people win at life. I enjoy seeing a woman know and love herself, know her worthiness, because when you know that, some of the things you settled for in the past, you won't do that anymore. Some of the people you allowed in your space, you won't allow them in that space anymore. And for those family and friends that some we know love us, but sometimes their words can be toxic and not good for our mental stability or anything like that, you will know how far to let them come in and when to let them come in as well. That can be a touchy situation. So I know it's easier said than done, but you are still the owner of your life, and you have to do what's good for your mental stability and for your peace. So, Path listeners, let me tell you, all of that I just said was just off the top. In this episode, I really wanted to just come in again, and I may ask you a few other questions for you to think about. Next week, you will start hearing our guests popping back in, as well as I'm loving doing a lot of these solo episodes. So I will be popping in, doing a whole lot more, as well as trying to show some of the videos and clips of some things to come. But I read a quote. And this quote read, "Life is filled with unanswered questions, but it is the courage to seek those answers that continues to give meaning to life." The same thing when we were asking the questions in our last episode, Path listeners. And when we sit here and we start looking at what is it that we feel like we're here to do? What do you feel like I am called to do on this earth, where I'm occupying this space? It has to be more than just going to that 9 to 5. It has to be more than just going to the grocery store, getting groceries, come back home, and start that routine all over again. If you're not feeling fulfilled doing it, if you're feeling fulfilled in that 9 to 5 and going to the grocery store, come back home, fine. I'm not saying you have to change any of that. As long as you are fulfilled and have joy and know that you're doing what you are called to do, then you're winning at life. I'm talking to those who feel like there's more in 2024. This is the year I feel something major is changing in my life, and I hope you're feeling the same. So let's talk again about this purpose. Like, what is the definition of purpose? Now, purpose can mean so many things for so many people. Purpose is unique for you. What you identify as your path, it may be different for others. So don't look at someone else's purpose. Your purpose can actually shift and change throughout life in response to the evolving priorities and circumstances of your own experiences. When we are reflecting, some of the questions that we may ask ourselves is, who am I? If you've never asked that or answered that, ask yourself, who am I? And answer these questions. Where do I belong? And what makes me feel fulfilled? Purpose can guide our life decisions, influence behavior, shape goals, and it offers a sense of direction and create meaning. Again, it's our why. For some people, purpose is connected to vocation, meaningful, satisfying work. Our purpose is the reason we wake up in the morning. It's what gives meaning to our lives. I saw someone who wrote that the equation for purpose is G plus P plus V equals P. That is gifts plus passions plus values equals purpose, by Richard Leider. Richard Leider is the founder of Inventure, the Purpose Company. He believes, and I agree, that we were born for a reason and we live for a purpose in this world. If you don't know that today, let me start by telling you that we were all born with a purpose on this earth. Even when I talked earlier about, even if it's your choice to be a stay-at-home mother, that is purpose in your life. That is your path. That may not be someone else's, but that is yours. And it's strange when people try to tell people what they are called to do. Some of us can be better stay-at-home mothers and CEOs of our home than some who are running businesses out here. but that's your choice, and that's what you feel like you're called to do, and that's a wonderful thing. So when we talk about what we were born to do and our purpose, we have to ask ourselves, what are the gifts we know we have? I read something where it said fewer things are sadder than watching a person with potential waste their life without using their gifts. Many of us, it says, have gifts hidden away that we are not fully expressing. We may have overlooked them, or we may use them so frequently and effortlessly that we take them for granted. Something I talked about the last time, something you're good at that helps people that you don't think about, and it comes at ease to you, that some of us struggle to do. So for you, it goes unappreciated. And yes, there are a lot of things that you may be good at, but you don't enjoy doing. So you have to differentiate those two. A true gift is something that you can give back to the world with ease and pleasure. It pleases you to also do it. That was our gifts. So now when we talk about your passions, your calling will engage both your mind and your heart, your natural gifts and the issues you care about most. Your passions will reveal where you want to direct your energy and guide your goals. Ask yourself some of these questions. What do I care about most in this world? Whom do I want to help the most? When do I feel most engaged with what I am doing? What would I use a gift of $1 million if it had to be given away? When your life and work decisions are based on your gifts and passions, the power of purpose emerges, bringing alignment, energy flow, and aliveness. That's talking about our passions. Now, when we talk about our purpose, how life purpose evolves, questions about life purpose may arise at any time in life, but you may notice that they are especially prevalent during times of transition or crisis. For example, using Arlene for example, being laid off 3 times in 4 years, 4 to 5 years. That was a major crisis to me, a transition, a career change. Sometimes for some people it's a personal loss. Life changes and events opens up new possibilities to emerge. That's what it did for me, allowing our life purpose to evolve. Sometimes we just have to change the questions we ask. Instead of why is this happening, which I did ask that question, what should come out of it? And those are the other questions I asked. Because in my quiet time, I was very intentional about when I was get up in the morning, I would pray. I would do my own little praise and worship. It was a song that I would listen to every morning by Marvin Winans. It's an old clip, and the title of the song was I Need Thee. And that song always spoke to me because I knew I needed God's to speak, to move, to do something while I did the work on the parts that he gave me the power to do. I was constantly looking for a job. I did not turn my TV on because my job was looking for a job. As I was always looking for a job, that's when the ideas of me wanting to start doing and working with women more came into fruition for me. It became clear to me that's what I wanted to do. Now, everything wasn't totally clear, and that's okay. And I'm a big proponent of still writing down what is coming into me. So I may use it years later, or I may use it at that point, so I don't forget what is coming in, because I believe that is a way of how energy and God speaks to me. And if I use it for that moment, I use it. If not, I'll revisit it and look back at it later. And that's what I did. So that's the part when we talk about how purpose evolves. So life changes and events opens us up for new possibilities to emerge, allowing our life purpose to evolve. But this can also prompt physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual transitions, and even sometimes a chaotic period as we begin to ask new questions. As we do at different stages of our lives, we find different questions and different possibilities. I promise you that was a time when I know I felt it was different stages of my life that my questions changed. Purpose for me was me living my truth and finding out what Arlene is called to do. What spoke to me? And what I was feeling is what I know I wanted other people to feel. And I know walking that path of not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow, it helped me to understand that I had to change my way of thinking, because I did believe I was scared, but I was never frightened that something wasn't going to change. Because again, in my faith, I trust God and I did the work on my part. It takes both. And what I did is I did what I was called to do, and I put the rest on God and say, okay, you have to make this happen, because I know I did nothing wrong for me to be laid off. It was when the economy was tanked, like around 2008. It started around that time. I got laid off again, like I said in the previous episodes, in 2009. And then again, it happened 2 times after that. Now, I did have to ask some questions, but for sake of time, I'm not going to go into that. Go listen to that episode talking about those 3 layoffs in 4 to 5 years. That was no joke, but it taught me things. I've learned in this life how you change the questions we ask. Just like what I was just talking about, we're evolving in our purpose, and it causes you to ask different questions. And for you out there who needs to start asking yourselves those questions, you need to find that quiet space if you haven't done so already. Start today. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Start out with 15 minutes if that's the only time you have. 30 minutes to an hour is great, but 15 minutes is a start. And if you're like me, in order to quiet my mind, some of the techniques I've learned from some of my past guests, I've learned to really sit back. I've heard my therapist who's been on the show who's taught me this, and some of the spiritual healing people that's been on. Stop and take deep breaths in and out. You have to consciously breathe in and out. That is one thing that has truly helped. Trust me, and my mind runs a lot. So it is something that really has helped me to quiet my mind, because my mind is always running with something. So just start there. And when you start there, and when you feel like you're in a place, and start writing down what comes to you. Don't overthink your answers. Like I read, this is not a test. Just start writing, and what comes up first is what you just write down. You can revisit it later, and even if you think it sounds odd, or if it's not like you at all, get out of your head and into your heart, because that could be what you are called to do. Everybody else may not be doing it, but that is what you are called to do. Just remember, there are no wrong answers. This is your life. This is your journey. This is your path. No one else is going to have what you have. And do not look to see if 100,000 other people are doing it. And if they are, like doing this podcast, it is saturated with podcasts. We know. But that's okay. We still start. And because you see a lot emerge, they emerge for different reasons, and some are more successful than others for one reason or another. The whole point is to start. As long as you know sometimes your answers may change over time, that is okay. Path listeners, this episode truly is about some recommendations, suggestions, but still asking you some questions. The one thing I would tell you to do, if you still want those starting points I asked you earlier about who am I, what do I feel like I'm called to, what makes me feel fulfilled. Also, one of the major things to do is go back to your childhood. You have to go back to a time when you were your youngest that you can remember, at the youngest memory as a child. And think about what it was that you loved doing. It can start whatever age you have the earliest memory, 8, 9 for some people. What is it you love doing? Remember the joy of doing those things for fun. There was no rewards, no impressing anyone. You were just being yourself. That's one of the goals we have to get to. Just be yourself without trying to impress anyone. For me, my earliest truly didn't come into high school. That's when I felt like it spoke to me what I knew I loved doing. If I never said it, I was our student government president in high school, And for 1 year, I had to speak at one of our Black History programs because our guests didn't make it. So I knew I enjoyed doing it. Yeah, I had some other reasons why I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it. So didn't think about it for many, many years later, but I knew I've always enjoyed doing that. So for me, along with working with women and organizations and doing events on speaking, I'm also someone who's intentional about doing leadership type training for companies of all sizes. So those are the things I'm looking to get more involved with. I enjoy working with women more because I feel like we need to have a presence more with our seat at certain tables. And if we're not invited, then we're building our own. We should build our own. There is no one more creative and a leader than a woman. That has nothing to do with the man, if that's your choice, leading a home or your partner. The only point I'm making is when we both are leaders, we all win at life. No one is trying to take no one's place, and no one, if whatever you feel is right for you in your house, that's what you do. But when I say a woman, no better leader than a woman, it's just that we are great leaders. That's it. And we are all out here winning at life. Path listeners, for sake of time, let me just have you answer some of these other questions for self in your personal time. This question always strikes a nerve. If you knew you only had a year left to live, how would you spend it? That question should always make all of us think hard about, because we think we have all the time in the world and we never know. So if you only had a year left to live, if you knew that, how would you spend it? Sit down and truly answer that question as well, along with what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? What behaviors do you need to start or stop doing? These are some of the questions that we need to start working on today, Path listeners. If you're stuck, just walk away from it for a minute and then come back to it. The point is just to start writing it down. I normally do that a lot. I'll write things out. I'll leave it alone for that day and revisit it a day or two later. I need to feel like something speaks to me when I read it again. There's been a lot that I erased because it didn't speak to me. And sometimes it comes from maybe watching others and thinking I need to add that to some of my notes. But no, it wasn't for me. It has to speak to me in order for me to present it to you. I'm very intentional about doing what speaks to my soul in order for the universe to have it speak to those that it is supposed to speak to. I just need for you to know that you are worthy. You are worthy of this. If anyone has put anything negative in your head about you, let something positive come into you. Queen, you are worthy. You are deserving of a better life. You are brilliant. You are smart. You are called to something. If you turn that negative thing into something positive, you can't lose at life. Why settle in on negativity that's been said to you instead of something that is positive? It's changing your mind. You have to talk to yourself. Girl, that is something I am good at doing, is talking to Arlene. And you should be also. And if not, again, I am your hype woman. I am here to make sure you, the star, know that you are born for so much more. You have destiny. You have purpose. You are worthy. Once again, hit me up. I am here for you. You are the star. I will keep repeating that. Let's take action, Path listeners. You've done enough. We've done enough. We've cried enough. We've settled enough. We've sat back and look at others succeed enough. It's time for you to walk into your calling. I want to leave each of you with something a dear friend shared with me. It was an IG post that Dr. Jamal Bryant posted because he was reading a book from Dr. Priscilla Shirer. She is an author and founder of Going Beyond Ministries. I don't know which book it is, and I didn't go back and look at it, but it's something she said that said when she closes her prayers, she said, Lord, do this or something better. Lord, do this or something better. So whatever it is that you're praying for, sometimes we pray too small. And God says, I have so much more for you. So that's what, or something better comes into play. Because if I'm doing something small and if I'm praying for something small and you see more from me, do that then, God, please. Just just show me what I need to do, the steps, so I can get to that more that you are offering me. Path listeners, that's where I want us to be. I want us to get to that place where we're asking God, end our prayers, Lord, do this or something more, because we are asking for things. We're asking for so much to change. And sometimes his no can be our answer. Understand that, because that no can be the answer to a better life for us. Because we're thinking one thing and God is saying, no, that's not the route for you. And sometimes your answer may be not right now. And sometimes he is quiet because he wants us to get something or seek him more. So definitely make sure you make that time to figure it out with him. Talk to him just like he's your daddy. He is there and he will speak to your heart. So, Path listeners, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope it is something that you will do, because it is about us moving into what it is that we're called to do. I hope you don't miss the next episode. If you haven't done so, please subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, anywhere you get podcasts, so you don't miss an episode. And I am booking for speaking engagements. So if you are looking for a speaker for your next event, please consider your sister, your motivator, your confidence builder, the one who believes that your purpose is bigger than any obstacle that you're facing today. Until next time, Path listeners. Thank you for listening to the Path Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcast. It will help you to easily find the show when new episodes go live. You can also listen on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon, iTunes, and all other major platforms. If you have any questions about the things we've covered on the show or would like to follow my projects, please find me on Instagram and Facebook at thepath_podcast. You can also go to my website at www.arlenebowden.com. See you on the next episode.